Hi, I'm Mama B.
And I'm Mama Juju.
And we are
Music Mamas on the Move. And today we have a very special guest with us. Actually, this young lady is my daughter. And she is full of life and spreads love and kindness everywhere she goes. She's a supervisor at Ballerina in Denver and on staff at Red Rocks. She is a very talented EDM artist as well, Tripsta J. And I'm proud to introduce her to the show. This is our very first recording of 2025, and we're also videoing as well, which is the first for us. So we appreciate you guys coming to the show. Cheers, you want to take it away for us?
I do. Welcome, Jessie. It's so great to have you here. I am stoked about this episode.
Happy New Year, friends. Yay. It's good to be in South Carolina for the time being,
right,
before I go back out on Wednesday.
And you brought the cold with you. Thanks. We appreciate that.
I'm going back out to more cold. I don't really know what to expect. And people are like, are you not used to this yet? I'm like, I will never be used to it.
No.
There is no getting used to it.
Right? Born and raised here.
Yeah, at least it's a dry cold there because there's no humidity there. So all the mosquitoes and the bugs that exist here, they're not out there.
That's great.
Yeah, it's like being a kid thinking that it rains everywhere. When it's raining at your house, you think everybody deals with humidity, and they do not. They do not.
Yeah,
so
I want to experience that one day. I've never been there, so
hopefully you get a little more sunshine coming your way here soon.
Oh yes, definitely for sure. It's sunny outside today, so that's a start. And I do want to start with you telling us a little bit about your background, and we got to know the tea, girl. You got to spill it. Growing up with Mama Juju. Oh, what was that like?
Oh.
I didn't read these questions.
I love that. I was about to say, that must have been a side set of questions that you didn't send her way. I know she'd have been like, take that one out.
Right? Mm-hmm.
No, she's the best. I mean, to simply put it, I am the 30-year younger version of her. I hear it all the time from friends of family and from my own friends that know her. She was the household to go to growing up. The place you could go. She's a no child left behind hungry kind of person. Everybody's got to eat. I don't care if you ate before you came. You got to at least eat a snack. Eat a pack of crackers, something.
For sure.
The compassion and the hardworking ethic that radiates from this woman is inspiring. It made me confident enough to move out to Colorado. I had never even visited the state. I was like, this seems like a good idea. Think I could do that. Think I could make that work. So, I mean, everybody has their relationships with their parents, but I'd say we're pretty close.
I'd say you're very close.
Yeah.
Which is special.
Well, following your dream is what it's all about, and doing what makes you happy.
Mm.
And Jessie loved EDM and that whole scene, and Denver's the bass capital of the world. And, I'm like, well, you can get a job like working within your field. And so that's what made it exciting for me for her to go, because I was like, why don't you look at Red Rocks? I mean.
And from a very early age, like, music is in the house. I mean, they have a CD case. It's like a bookcase, but it's for CDs, and it's alphabetically organized as if I would have the time of day to do something like that. I'm like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, but that's
I respect
but that's
it.
Key,
But half of that collection is yours. I asked them the other day how many vinyls did they think they had, and they said a couple hundred.
That's not true. That's probably more like 5 or 6.
And that's what I said, because Pete was like 200-300 maybe, I don't know. Music has always just been around in the house. I mean, we have a 5-disc like CD player that like you can put those in and rotate through which ones you want to listen to. I mean, Pete's always been a big audio guy, so I think with that, and then my dad taught me how to play the guitar and was always very musically inclined that way. I don't know, it was just always around, and one day I was like, actually, that could be a career. I think I'm going to do something with that. It's never going to go away. It's just going to constantly evolve.
Is guitar the only instrument you know how to play?
I do know how to play the ukulele, only slightly, though.
Right.
It's something fun just to pick around with. But, I mean, I learned how to play the violin when I was in the 5th grade. I played the flute all through middle school. Just...
Wish we could find that flute.
Somebody stole it out of the band room.
Sure
I know they did.
Oh.
I know they did, because my dad was like, you lost it. And I was like,
Well,
it was a nice instrument.
Well, he accused me of pawning it. I'm like, why would I pawn it?
That was true.
Oh, yeah.
That was true.
For $10. Yeah, you're
Like,
going to
what?
get a lot for that student flute at down the pawn shop, baby. Oh, sorry. $10.
Anything
Sorry.
like that.
That just kind of came out of nowhere. So
That's so funny. No, music, it was always around. So I think for me, it was kind of like an aha moment when I was like, why don't I just do something with this? I never really knew what that exactly would be. But I mean, when I told her I was going to go to College of Charleston and be an arts management major, she was like, music? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to draw or anything like that. What else am I going to do? What do you mean? What do you mean I'm not just going to pull some artistic ability out of my back pocket that I haven't had for 18 years? Like, that's not happening. So, and she was like, well, I'm just going to live through you vicariously. Because when I lived in Tennessee, I had the best time.
I did.
And
I mean,
she did. She met so many cool people, so many songwriters, so many fun, inspirational people that she still talks to this day.
Right?
And for me, it was like, that's also really neat to look back on and go, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And I got told that very early on in arts management. One of my mentors that ended up being very influential, Karen Chandler, she was my first ever arts management course teacher. It's like Introduction to Arts Management or something like that. And she was like, it's 90% business and 10% fun. But the 10% fun makes that 90% business worth the while. And she was like, it's always going to be here. Arts is always going to be involved. Live entertainment is going to be here forever. And we saw how much we needed it when COVID happened.
Didn't we?
And everything was like, no. And we were like, you sure? I was like, no.
Right. Well, wasn't it? It was such a bizarre time.
It was horrible timing for
It
me.
was.
Everything in my life is mapped out specifically. I feel like everything happens intentionally and comes full circle. All the pieces tie together some way, somehow. And I got my job with the music hall, right at the beginning of February in 2020. February 1st was my first shift, I think. And it was right before I was about to graduate in May. And my other mentor, Heather McDonald, one of my teachers, she was our head of the student-run record label at the College of Charleston called 1770 Records. And she reached out to me and was like by text, we were so close. She was like, hey, Charles is looking for people who want to work at the music hall. And I feel like you're a great fit for that. And I was like, really? They had taken us around to visit these venues. And that was the cool part about College of Charleston was always a guest speaker, always an artist, always somebody from the business coming in, giving you a tour of their job or you going out to see it yourself. We walked to the music hall. It was that close to our class. And we just walked around and checked it out. And I was like, I never thought I would work there. And then she was like, he's looking for people. And I just submitted an application. I was like, how cool that would be to have a job within my degree before I graduate. This is lining up the way it's supposed to. 2020 was going to be everybody's year. I was convinced of that. So many people were on the up and coming, about to make big moves, big things happen. And then it was skirt. Wait, put a pause on it. We're not doing this right now. Everybody's going to have to reevaluate.
What was the last festival you went to? Or the last, what was it you went to in March before everything shut down?
Yeah, so my last shift that I worked at the College of Charleston, or at the music hall was the 27th or 28th of February. Worked there a month. Went on vacation, March 5th through the 8th, I think was the festival. It was Okeechobee in Swanee, Florida. And we came back, and 3 days later, the whole world was shut down. And they just kept postponing, not canceling, but postponing events at the music hall. And then they were like, well, now people are canceling, and they were like, well, actually, we're just going to have to close our doors for now. And this is it.
How long were those doors closed? I can't remember if we talked about that with Charles.
The venue itself stayed closed for a while, but they brought back this outdoor series going on that I had to be a part of. And I didn't have to be a part of it, but I really wanted to because I didn't want to work at the grocery store again, which I don't know. It was all a mess at the time. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. If you guys are doing events again, sure. And they're like, you can come out and literally hammer wooden posts into the ground, into this hard ground that doesn't get any rain. I was doomed. I was set up for failure. They knew what they were doing. And you can wrap ropes around them. We're going to have 4 people per cube. And they can come in and they can be socially distanced. They have to wear a mask if they're not going to be in the box. I was like, is this a battle I even want to do? Like, but I love music that much.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, and I was like, if you're putting that in my court for me to be able to do, and you're telling me I can come back as I am, I mean, we'll do it. I'll do it for now. And yeah, I had so many blisters. I was so mad I had to get a nice pair of construction gloves.
But the funny thing is when we would talk about it, about who was coming and who was going to be playing, then we would always talk the next day. And Jessica's big thing was that the people would pull up the stakes so they could put their pods together.
People would untie their rope thinking they were slick and like tie it to the front of somebody else's pod next to them. Oh, come on. We all know each other. Cool. I don't care. If you untie this rope again, we're going to have a problem. First of all, I'm the one that put this post in the ground. You want to put it back in the ground? They just rip it up and throw. I'm like,
yeah, people were wild.
But it was because they needed that live entertainment so bad. It all circled back around to music. And it was like,
and socialization.
Yes, people needed that. We thrive on that as humans. Like that isolation is not meant for us. And I mean, you can't pay me to stop talking. So I was like, I tell people all the time because I work in like customer management. Like I work in making sure everybody's having fun and being safe. That's my primary concern in my job is customer service. And I'm like, listen, if you're having a good time and you're vibing, I get to vibe and I get to have a good time. It's when you guys start acting crazy is when I start making all these executive decisions for you. Like, it is what you create it to be. So a lot of times I realize, like, the music is always going to be the number one above everything else, and everybody's going to either follow accordingly, they're going to get with it, or they're going to get left behind.
Right.
That's it.
And that was actually a good experience leading you towards where you are now in Colorado.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe that I work at Red Rocks. Right before I moved out, Mom was like, wouldn't that be cool if you could just, work at Red Rocks? I said, Mom, that's crazy. She's like, is it though? She was like, I mean, you work at the music hall. You already do box office and security work. Like, is it really that far-fetched? They do something like that there. And I was like, well.
Shoot, I was looking it up on the website. I was like, ooh, they got a link right there. It says employment opportunities.
I'm like, I'm still living in Charleston. She's like, don't worry, it's fine. And then I moved out there and at the end of September in 2021, and a girl that I had known from Charleston had already been living out there for like a year and a half at the time. And she gave me this little like index card, and it had a QR code. And she was like, I work for this crowd management company and sign up. I feel like it'd be a great fit for you. They support Ball Arena, Mission Ballroom, Fiddler's Green, Red Rocks. And the moment she said Red Rocks, my hands went numb. I was like, really? I was like, is that easy? She was like, yeah, and if you use the QR code, like, I get an extra little bonus on my paycheck if you work a certain amount, and so do you. And, like, it's a cool little incentive. Like, you can work as much or as little as you like. It's a make-your-own-schedule kind of company. So I can go through by the month and be like, yes, no, yes,
Oh, that's
no.
great.
Well, and there's
yes,
two, one of the things when Jessica went out there and she was signing up for stuff is that I would say, okay, what are you working this week? Because I was always interested in who she was going to get to see.
So many different people.
And she was going to work the Pantera and Lamb of God show at Ball Arena. And I said, do you know their music? And she was like, no, I don't believe I know them.
I said, I mean, they're heavy metal, right?
And I was like, yeah, but they're different.
You might want to look them up.
But yeah. So it's always one of the things that I tried to encourage her to do, especially for shows, is that to look up the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Because the band can be as great as anybody in the world, but your fan base really is going to determine your experience while you're there.
I had to bite the bullet on a lot of shows when I first started working because I wasn't a supervisor when I first went out there. So you work shows, you make money. The more shows you work, the more money you make. So I was like, Red Rocks is one of the highest paying venues because it's one of the most physically
Demanding.
strenuous. Make you walk up the ramp every day by the time you get to check in. You're like, do y'all have an inhaler? Does anybody have? I need a minute or 5 or 10.
Right.
So I got some water. You know what I'm saying?
The altitude. How much does that affect you?
Honestly, it didn't affect me as much as I thought it would when
Okay.
I first got out there, and that's normally when you experience that altitude sickness issue. But I took my time working my way up to higher altitudes because I live right at like 5,000 feet, roughly, somewhere in that area. And then Red Rocks is up in the 8s, like towards the 9,000 like elevation level. So a lot of people that come up there, you know, they're like, I can drink like 6 tall boys. And I'm like, at home, where are you from? And they're like, Ohio. And I'm like, yeah, at home in Ohio, you can drink like 6 tall boys. Here it's a little different. They're like, you don't know me. I'm like, I don't have to know you. I know you tonight, and I'm going to see you soon. You try that. And 2.5 later, they're like, I'm spun. I feel like I've drank 7. Who drugged me? I'm like, no, you did it to yourself. Drink water. Because they don't realize, like, with no moisture at all up there, your body is doing everything it can to maintain that. It will pull from your bones. It'll pull from every part of you. Like,
But it really surprises me, like when I went out there, the number of people who will actually come up there with an oxygen tank.
oh yeah.
Like they're on oxygen. You don't need to be at Red Rocks seeing a show. I need you to get back to the house and watch that live stream, sis.
Oh,
You know?
I feel
mean,
like people are indifferent about that when Joe Bonamassa is as old as he is and he's still coming up there. All his fan base looks at me like, why would you do this to us? And I'm like, ask Joe, man. I didn't do it to you. Trust me, I don't want you yelling at me. No, there's no elevator here. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. You didn't look at one picture? Not one?
Not one, right?
Dang. Setting yourself up.
And
I
they're
didn't do it.
dragging their oxygen.
Yes.
oh yeah,
Some
there's
people
that do
drag
with
their
OT tanks. Yeah.
No, so do you think they're always on oxygen? Or they're,
Yes.
oh.
There's not.
It's
like,
not just
no.
let me drag my oxygen up here
No.
so I can breathe better.
No, because if you have the aerosol like oxygen things that you normally like put your mouth on to breathe in, you can't bring those in because they're aerosol containers. So they're not allowed, they're not permitted in the park. And so if you're having that many breathing issues, they're literally going to tell you, take a minute, sit down, drink some water. Like, it's okay to like admit that you're out of breath. I feel that way every day. My first summer there, I worked 87 shows.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah. And I was like, every day I thought that ramp to get to check-in was going to be easier. And it was not. It was not. It was still just as tiresome. It's crazy stuff. Like working with people and having that constant engagement in different genres of music. I was like, this is what I want to do forever. I want to be involved as much as possible.
Okay, most memorable show. You've seen this gazillion number of shows up at Red Rock. So what's the most memorable?
I've got to go with the answer that I've consistently gone with since people have started asking me that. I've worked enough, I guess, in my opinion, to have this amazing. It was when Nelly opened up for Ludacris. That was like one of the best shows I think I've ever seen in my life, but especially at Red Rocks because the crowd was so nice. They were so tuned in to the music, they didn't even look at me once. And my position was working on the south stairs down, like on the wraparound corner, because the inside stairs have to stay clear. as a fire marshal rule, like it was
Right.
just need him clear for hazard. So my job was to walk back and forth on the inside of that, just remind people, hey, need you to keep moving. You know, if you want to smoke, come to the outside stairs, like direction or kind of, but also like get out of my way because I'm the only one that can stand here. And I just felt so blessed because they picked our crew, like we had our stair crew, and they just delegate positions as you get there. And they were like, you're gonna be on the rock today. And I was like, I'm gonna be where? And they were like, you gonna be right? I was like, I could cry. Because I love Nelly, I love Ludacris, I love their whole discography. I think that hip hop and rap music is so essential to EDM as well. So I tie a lot of that back into my mixes nowadays. And I don't know, like everybody was so nice. Like she said, like it's not always about the artist. It's a lot of times about the fan base too. They didn't give two craps about anybody else around them. They're like, this is the best night of my life. Because when do you get to see those two artists, just those two together?
Right.
And then Ludacris brought out Chingy and they sang right there. And I thought I was going to pass away. I was like,
oh, that's great.
it's unreal. Things that you don't think you're going to get to see. And then in that moment, you're like, I'm getting paid for this. I'm not even just here to enjoy this and then get to fly back home to wherever home is for those people. I get to go home and go to bed and wake up tomorrow and come back and do it again.
That's
for
great.
somebody else.
What do you think the one that you attended, because you've not only worked shows, but you've attended shows. So what do you think your favorite one that you attended?
Man.
Mhm.
It's really hard to pick a favorite because I love electronic music so much, but it was probably the second time the Liquid Stranger came to Red Rocks. He calls it Wakan Rocks because he runs his own label called Wakan. And Liquid Stranger is my favorite electronic artist. And just no one produces their sets and their sounds like him. When you hear it, you know it's him. So it's one of those things that I was like, all the openers were amazing. It was the closest we'd ever been to the stage in general admission. I think we were in like row 23 or something like that. And I don't know, it was so special. And I had friends from out of town that I met through Bonnaroo that had come out for that. And
We'll never trade those memories.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Just life works in the most mysterious ways. And I feel like, I don't know, Liquid Stranger was so cool for me because my first time seeing him was 2019 Bonnaroo. And by the end of that show, he played a Trinity set, which he did 3 different sets. And they were all like throwback, like down tempo and then hype set. And it was unreal. And one of my friends who lives out there in Colorado that I met through work, it's her first time seeing him. And she got 3 sets in one. I was like, you are so lucky. It's so cool. You set the bar really high for yourself. Like, I don't know. There's been so many amazing things, so many cool artists that I had never heard of that, I see them open. I'm like, who is that? They're amazing. I need to check them out. And it always inspires me to check out more, especially on the days that I didn't get a choice. I didn't get a choice with Pantera. They said, we need supervisors. No one's going to want to work this. Everybody's going to be crazy. The merch lines are going to be insane. Deal with it. So, it's just sometimes you got to bite the bullet and go with what you got. And I don't know. It's been the best part about being out there. It's getting to work at all these different venues and seeing what's going on. That was at Ball Arena. That wasn't even at Red Rocks, thank God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had some questions about Bonnaroo, though.
Oh, I do. Yeah. So, well, and it's kind of the same. I want to know your history as far as Bonnaroo because you're kind of a staple there. And that seems like
I think they say that like if you go over 5 times, you become a veteran.
Cool.
Like because you've at least seen enough of the grounds to know your way around. This will be my 8th year. This coming year, 2016 was my first year ever, and I've went every year that they've held it since. And I think 2016 was probably my favorite year, only because that's when the magic really started. My first festival ever. The first show, first day, which is Thursday, Hermitude. Never had heard of this EDM group ever. But my friend Tanner was like, we gotta go. I'm like, dude, I don't know half of this lineup. I'm here for J. Cole and I'm here for Dead and Company. Other than that, take me wherever. I don't really care. I'm not opposed or, just he introduced me to so many new sounds, and that's when I really discovered EDM. But Hermitude was this funky EDM group, and we get into the crowd and we end up next to this ginormous guy who just seemed to be so cool. I was like, what's up, man? Like, he was like, you want to help me build a wall here? And I was like, a wall? I was like, well, I mean, you know what? I said, I got you. I'll puff my shoulders up. I'll look big. I don't care. I got you. So after the show, we hung out. We vibed all night. And after the show, I said, man, what's your name? I got to know who you are. He said, my name's Ivan. I was like, I'm Jessica. And my friend Tanner was talking to our friend Kelly and Max as we were walking out. And I said, where you live, Ivan? Where you from? And he was like, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. My heart went through the ground. I was like, there's no. I think my first word to him was no. That's not true. So that's not true. He said, what? I said, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. He was like, yeah, okay. I said, where'd you go to high school, Ivan? He said, I went to Woodmont. And I was like, Tanner? I reached around and I grabbed Tanner by the back of his neck, basically, and I yanked him over there. I said, listen, this man says he went to Woodmont. I already know he's around our age. I said, y'all two must know each other. You must have seen each other, maybe. And they made eye contact, and this brief interaction, I'll never forget. Tanner was like, how was you guys' football kicker from 2010 to 2014, because we graduated in 2014. And he was like, you must have played football, right? Because he was like looking at him like he remembered Ivan in a way. And Ivan was like, duh, look at me, dude. Like, of course I played football. And he was like, you are our kicker from 2010 to 2014. And his eyes all of a sudden just got so big. Like, he just had this one realization moment. He goes, I genuinely remember you. He was like, holy shit, there's no way that this is happening right now. It was a record low attendance at Bonnaroo that year of 50,000 people. A record low.
A record low.
Yeah. So they had never had that low of an attendance at Bonnaroo up until that year. 2016, they had 50,000 camping passes.
So out of 50,000 people, she stands next to
We wind
Ivan.
up next on the first show of the evening. And I said, well, who are you here with? Like, you were obviously in the crowd hanging out by yourself. And he was like, well, I had 5 other people that were supposed to come with me, but I ended up coming by myself. One person got hurt, another person, everybody ended up bailing in some way, shape, or form. And I was like, no, you're with us, dude. You're family. Great. And then the next night, J. Cole was headlining, and we're hanging out with our new friend, Ivan, Kelly, Max, Tanner, me, and his biggest totem still to this day I've ever seen. It was like a ginormous fishing pole with a bass on the end. And I was like, I don't get it. And Ivan had to educate me that they call it the base.
Oh.
Some things just go right over, and those guys were running everywhere I saw them go that year. They were just hauling ass. I was like, what is going on? And so they get into the crowd planted right next to us, and I turn around and I look, and Travis is standing right there next to Tanner, and they strike up a conversation. And basically Travis is like, yeah, man, I'm down to hang out all night. My phone's dead. I lost my friends, but you guys seem really cool. And he was like, hey, Jessica, I found another guy that's going to be our friend for life. And
they are.
And we are, still to this day. There's so many random one-off memories. One of my favorite concerts at Bonnaroo is T-Pain. I've seen him there at least 3 times now. This man, they finally took him out from underneath one of the tents, which is still a produced stage, but it's just smaller.
Mm-hmm,
and they put him on one of the main stages, not the biggest stage, which was a mistake in my opinion.
Yeah.
Put him on the main stage.
Give him a spot.
Give him a main stage, please.
How many stages? How many do you know?
Well, there's
no.
There's the what stage?
They mess you up intentionally. I'll tell you what they are, and I'll count them out as I go, if that makes sense. So the three biggest stages that they have are their main production ones. You have the what stage, the which stage, and the who stage. In that order, that's like biggest to smallest, like stage production. The what stage is, I love it. I'm like, you put teeth pain there, but they put them at the which stage, which I don't like. Sound bleeds too much, whatever. So that's three. And then you got this tent and that tent. Still to this day, it's going on 8 years. I still don't know what I'm doing half the time. They don't give you paper lineups anymore. So you got to take screenshots on your phone and do all this extra stuff. They do it so you'll argue with each other. I know it. I know it because if it's dark, I don't know what's going on. So much less you mess up the names. I hear people arguing all the time. We're going to this tent. You mean this one right here? No, it's called that tent, but we're going to this one. It's so funny. So you have the what, which, who, this tent, that tent. Then you have the other, and they call it the other because it's small, like one of the tent setups, but it's set up like a stage, but it's not big enough to be one of the bigger stages. So they just call it the other. It's just the other. I call it the Ferris wheel stage because that's
where
what
the
it's
Ferris.
next to.
Oh, it's next to.
Yep, it's next to the Ferris wheel.
You have a Ferris wheel out there. It's fun.
Meet me at the Ferris wheel stage.
And then you got the woods.
Yeah,
Into
then you
the
got
woods.
Into the woods.
Yep, where in the woods?
Oh, is it where in the woods?
I think
Sorry
it's where
about
in the
that.
woods. She messing me up on purpose.
No,
Dang. Yeah, no, where in the woods, and it's unfortunate too because it's on the where the music takes place is Centeroo, and the outside is called Outeroo, and there's different plazas and there's different areas where you get food and you can see other smaller artists play, all this different kind of stuff. But on the other side of Centeroo, we camp. Like on this side, here's where all the music takes place, and here's where in the woods. So you got to go all the way across the way to get over there. Sometimes I've gotten over there as the artist is like, thank you so much for coming out. Really appreciate you. I'm like, thanks for saying goodnight, I guess. I don't know where I'm at. But they cap you off because it's literally a wooded area and there's no security to get into that point. Like you just walk up into it. So they're really focusing this year. They say they're focusing more on Centeroo and just having random pop-ups in Where in the Woods, which I think is good. But they're introducing a new stage. It's going to be like a 360.
What are we going to name this one, I wonder?
Hopefully they just leave it at 360 stage or the coolest stage. They can call it the coolest.
So we've already got
They'll probably call it that.
The what stage?
The what stage, which stage,
and
who stage. Then
Which, what, who.
This tent,
You got to do the where.
I know. Where in the woods, though.
Oh, where in the woods is already there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See what I'm saying? It's an intentional mess. They do it on purpose.
Who, what, when, where, how. The how tent. We're going to have the how tent.
The how tent. That would be cool. Mm-hmm. I could get with that. How do you decipher this information? You don't. The answer is you don't. You think you're going to see it all. You won't. It's a lot. It's a lot.
One thing before we wrap up, because we're probably getting into a little bit of time, is your interest in EDM.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first EDM show when you first started DJing?
When I first started DJing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, being a DJ was a quarantine project. Like, I never once growing up, and I told her this too, like, I never once did you hear me say, I want to be a DJ. I want to be a DJ. So being a DJ now and hearing people come up to me and be like, you're Tripsta J, right? I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is not real life. This is crazy. Like, that started in 2020. Like, my best friend Lauren, who I live with out in Colorado, and Chris, they both DJ very well. And she told me in 2020, she was like, I think I'm going to buy this Pioneer deck and we can try it out, practice with it. It's 2020. Everything is shut down. We got nothing else to do. So that's when I learned that, I do have decent, like, song selection, timing with transitions. I've learned how to piece music together. And yeah, I just was like, well, I'm just going to go for it because there's so many artists that I had seen up until that point when I started DJing that's kind of what also drove me to doing that. I also love when people like are expressing it on stage. Like, I want to see you dance. Do you like what you're listening to? Because you look bored. You look super bored. I'm not trying to see you just stand there and be like, no, nobody wants to see all that. Give me some finger guns. Give me something. Give me something exciting. I feel like I have too much energy to not do something engaging. And being a DJ was a great segue into creative expression. It's my creative outlet. I can't draw. I can't really paint. If I have instructions, sure. But
Paint by number.
I know.
paint by number, yeah, I got Happy Color on my phone. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain, everybody brings a certain skill set to the table.
Right.
And I think that for me, it's songwriting because I got into like music production, learned how to play the guitar, learned how to make beats, and then was like, well, I'm going to put that down to learn how to mix. And now that I know how to mix, now I want to try to get back into production, but there's so much to it. And I don't know. It just, still, like I said, I never thought I'd be a DJ. So it's so weird hearing her be like, what got you into that? I'm like, COVID, not doing anything, being bored.
A lot of people's careers change
Yes.
came out of COVID.
Yeah, they did.
It was a make or break type of situation. Like everybody had to. It was a shitty hand of cards that you were being dealt.
Yes.
At point blank, and you had to play them accordingly. And I feel like at the time I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna play these. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't even know if I'm gonna have a career in doing what I want to do. But I still got the arts management with a focus in the music industry. So when I moved out to Colorado and I got my job at Argus, I was like, this is everything I could have wanted it to be and more. Like, this
How
is
often
amazing.
do you perform? Are you finding that you're getting the opportunity to perform with your EDM?
It's happening more often now than it used to because I'm being a little more vocal about it. You know, people are like, why didn't you tell me that? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was supposed to go, hi, my name is Jessica, I'm a DJ. Just call me Tripsta J. That's what I'm better known as. Like, that's weird. I'm already weird enough. I'm not going to add to that. So, no. But over time, I share my SoundCloud. If people are like, oh, what do you listen to? And they tell me artists that they're interested in. I'm like, you might be interested in a mix that I put out. And they're like, oh, you put this together? And I'm like, yeah, it's not in my music, but I have so much in my playlist that I listen to all the time. So I'm like, why not put out a couple mixes?
And I know you're on SoundCloud because that's how I listen to you.
Yeah.
Is that mainly where you're putting stuff out?
Yeah, that's the only platform that I use right now. I thought about trying to use Spotify. I feel like such a grandma when I say this. I'm technologically challenged. So a new platform like that, having to mess with that and get everything on there, it's not the same layout. I don't know. I've just been using SoundCloud for so long. I'm just conditioned to what I know. And I feel like because you can still listen to my mixes for free on SoundCloud without having to download, anything extra, you could just get that SoundCloud app itself. Like, I have like 10 mixes on there, I think, or something like that. At least like 7 mixes, a couple tracks that I like made in GarageBand. I made like two tracks in GarageBand. I put them on there and I'm like, I'm committed. I'm not pulling them down now. I don't care. I don't care if I change my mind later. I like them, and they're staying. So it's all for me. It's like trying to figure out when to get back into that. Because every time that there's a down season for Red Rocks, it ends like November and picks back up March. I'm right in the full swing of things at Ball Arena for the Nuggets and for the Avalanche and the Indoor Lacrosse League that they have and concerts and never stops.
Right.
Never stops.
But that's good. That's good for you, right?
It is good. Because I kept saying I needed a break. And then I got one. And I was like, well, okay, maybe I should be more specific next time.
That's
so
right.
be intentional with what you put out into the universe. I've learned that time and time again.
That's
a continuous pill that you have to swallow and learn with.
We understand the technological challenge. I feel that anyway with doing the podcast and like,
I can only
we
imagine.
need to advertise for this. Oh, okay. What do we need to? Oh, TikTok, Instagram. What?
I mean, at least I grew up with a phone.
Right.
That's,
Right.
That's one thing I say, and this is an unpopular opinion with boomer age group. I'm grouping in a big group of people, but y'all got y'all's phones like this all the time, looking at it when you're driving.
Not
You
me.
can't see.
Not me. Thank
And
you
I'm
very
like,
much.
get a
But
thankfully, people get stands for their phones to have them up there. I'm like, stop holding it like that. And they're like, well, you don't need to be driving with your phone like that. And I'm like, well, I had an iPhone 4 when I was 11 or like 13. But you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all didn't have a phone until you were in what? When did you get your first phone?
and
First cell phone.
Oh, we're talking about that.
Exactly.
well, our generation is
Can't even
probably
remember. You see what I'm saying?
Nosy.
we're just as
Nosy.
bad. No, the boomer generation is just as bad about it. I mean, they are glued to.
So it's hard
the
to break
phone.
habits. But, I mean, I try to tell people all the time, it's not always a bad thing to use your phone and to be more like advanced with that. Like I've tried to tell people download the Red Rocks app and they're like, what is that? And I'm like, I asked one of my managers, I said, why don't we advocate for this? Why don't we promote this more? And she's like, and I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't actually. Can you enlighten me? Because when you buy a ticket, for Red Rocks, it has to be through AXS. I know there's a bunch of other different ticket entities out there, like Ticketmaster, like TickPick, all these other places. But with Red Rocks, to secure your ticket, it has to be through AXS. So I tell people, download the Red Rocks app because when you sign in, it's powered by the same thing.
Oh.
Your ticket will pop up with a map of the park.
That's great.
People are like, a map of the park? I'm like, yeah, because I know you're not going to be able to find your car later when you leave. I know it. You can tell me you know, unless you dropped a pin and you've never been here before, it's the luck of the draw. You know?
That would be me.
They're like, where's
can't find the car.
the box office trail? And I used to feel so bad. I'm like, well, that's about 1.5 miles from where we're standing right now. But thankfully, it's all downhill from there. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, literally, you just got to lean back, let gravity do the work for you. I like to joke with people. It's fun. It keeps things
That's
fun and
great.
lighthearted.
Anything else before we wrap it up, Sherry? What you think?
I don't know. It's so much information. That's great. I'm so happy for you that what
It's
an
a lot to take
experience.
in.
It is a lot to take in, and that you're having this great experience of being able to see and hear so much music. I'm just happy for you in that aspect.
Yeah, to
But-
this day, it's still something that I constantly have to reel in. Like, I go up to Red Rocks, and there's magic there. There's, like, magic in the rocks, and you go up there and you feel it. It's in every bone of my body. I go in there, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be here. And in every way, shape, or form, it has played out the way it's supposed to. I've met so many incredible people, networked in so many different ways, and that's why I think I play more shows, is because people are like, you DJ and you're good? Why are you not more vocal about it? I'm like, because I'm nervous. Stop. I'm like, stop. I'm already sweating. I can't do this. It just makes me nervous to like own that as a thing, when it was just a fun little side project to
That's
start
awesome.
with.
It's still on my bucket list. I haven't made it yet, but I will.
Come visit anytime. You'll find us. We're really easy to find. We're in bright yellow shirts. You find anybody in a bright yellow shirt or a bright blue shirt, be nice to them, ask them questions. They're there to
Always.
help. They're there to help.
Well, Sugar, we really thank you for coming today and spending the time with us and to do the podcast and to.
This is great.
And now you get to see what we're doing on our end.
I
so,
know. It's nerve-wracking.
Right?
I'm just,
Well, we
Ooh.
know you're going to continue to do fantastic things and
I appreciate
take
that.
us along for the ride. That's what
Just
we're
glad-
doing.
Yeah,
Just
we
glad
are.
to be here and be a part of it. You guys also come with so much music knowledge as well. So, I think it's a great thing that you're coming together and getting more people involved in the process. Like, music is so expansive. It will constantly evolve. It will never go away. That's what solidified my choice in it as a career. Where is it going to go?
Mm-hmm.
In my ears. That's
Right.
the only place it's going to go. It's here. It's here for life.
And it feeds your soul.
And to
That's
feed your
what's so
soul, it's
great.
good
That's
for the
right.
soul. It's true.
As always, we want to say special thanks. Thank you, Jesse, for being here. We're
Thank
so
you,
glad
guys.
you were here and sharing your experiences with us. And thanks to Will James Jr. for writing and performing our theme song. Jamaica Murphy for managing us and helping us along this journey, and Andre McCullough at Article Media. We appreciate all of you.
You guys are just fantastic.
And we do
Yeah.
want to thank our supporter for this one, the Zorba Lounge, who's always there. We did a live from the Zorba
Yeah, I love
Lounge.
the
That was
Zorba.
fun.
So we appreciate their support for us as always.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.